Are you into outer space and astronomy and exploration and all of that kind of cool stuff? If so, then today's watch might be of interest to you. We're taking a look at a watch that is very quirky and probably not going to be for everybody, but a very unique looking piece that basically puts entire planets onto your wrist. Today we're taking a look at the Multiverse from Kaal Watches. Let's check it out. Hey guys, welcome back to Just the Watch, the budget watch collecting channel. And as you probably guessed by now, this is a channel where I like to talk about all things related to budget watch collecting. And as always, I will be doing a wrist check at the very end of the video, so if you're interested in that, stick around. But today I want to talk about the Multiverse from Kaal Watches. And as you probably just saw in the intro, this is a very interesting piece. There's some interesting dimensions on it. For one, including that massive dome sapphire crystal. This watch is 20 millimeters tall, and a good chunk of that is because there is basically an entire half relief of a planet on the watch. The one that I have here is the, I believe it's called the Gaia model, so this one has the Earth on it. There's also a moon version with the moon on it, and a sun version with the sun on it. There's a lot of interesting uses of Lume, and just everything about this watch is very interesting. They've kind of redesigned the whole idea of a watch and come up with a really unique take on it. So this is not a traditional timepiece by any means. And, you know, this is the kind of thing that I do definitely appreciate. This is the sort of thing that micro brands are offering these days. And it's the kind of thing that you're not going to get, you know, in this sort of sub $400 price range from a major brand. Nobody's going to have the will and the desire to put something this unique out there. But a micro brand can definitely do that. And for collectors, I think that's a great thing. I think a lot of times, you know, if you're building a watch collection, you're probably going to want, you know, one really sort of out there piece. You're going to want something that really appeals to you and to your interests that you can kind of wear and have some fun with. And so again, if you are a space nut, then this might be your watch. So Kaal is a new micro brand based out of Singapore, and this is the Multiverse is their first watch. This one is available right now on pre-order for $369. I believe they will also be launching on Kickstarter very shortly. And this is a pretty good price for the level of uniqueness that you're getting out of this watch. I mean, even just the manufacturing of this thing, there's a lot of very interesting things going on here. For one, that sapphire crystal is just massive, and it is gorgeous. It is one of the most beautiful crystals I've seen. It's just this great kind of bubbly dome going over the entire watch. Also, again, there is an entire relief of a planet that's basically half of a planet stuck on there, and it is suspended above the dial of the watch by this metal bridge that goes over it. So a lot of custom pieces and parts that are put into this watch. And yeah, and even just like when you look at it and try and figure out how to tell the time, it's got a very unique way of displaying the time on the wrist as well. And then for the movement, they've gone pretty basic with the Seiko NH35, which I think is, again, perfectly acceptable. You don't need a high-end movement in a watch like this. There's a lot of other interesting, unique things about this watch that will, I think, sell it for people without also, you know, having to have a movement in there that will increase the cost of it. So I think it's really cool they've been able to put this watch together at this price point. But enough talking about it. Let's go ahead and jump in closer and take a look and see exactly what we got. I do want to say this watch was loaned in for review. It's one that I will be giving back. This is a prototype, and there will be some changes from the prototype version to the production version. I'll try and mention those as we go along. All right, let's take a look. Okay, so here's a closer look at the Kaal Multiverse. And you can see this is going to be a little bit difficult to film because of the lighting, because of this domed crystal. I mean, look at how high that is domed above the glass. And again, I really like that. It's really a beautiful crystal. It gives you this just great look into the watch. It's this just kind of mystical bubble effect that just is so cool. But it catches reflections everywhere because of the heavy doming. And yeah, you're getting a pretty good glimpse into what's going on. You can see my studio lights. You can see my little reflector positioned up there. So that's going to be a little bit in the way. All right, first off, how do you tell the time on this? Let me go ahead and pop the crown out so you can watch this go. So you can see the hours are printed on a disc. You see this is NH35, so it's hacking, so the second hand just stopped when I pulled that out. The second hand, first of all, is that little dot there. So that's meant to be like a satellite orbiting the Earth. The minute hand is a star, which is right over here right now. And this will be outlined in red on the production version. It's kind of hard to see on this prototype. Anyways, you can see as I start to turn the crown, you'll see what's going on. So the hour hand, there is no hour hand. The hours actually rotate. So they are on a disc there. So you can see, to tell the hour, you're going to be looking at that arrow at the very top. Okay? So that arrow up here, this is telling you where the hour is being told. So you can see right now we're at 11 o'clock, so the arrow's up there. Now it's 12 o'clock. So whichever hour, whichever number is at the top of the clock is what time it is right now, or at the top of the watch. Let's go ahead and let that satellite spin around a little bit to get it out of the way some more. So you can see as time goes, that disc will spin. And this is where it gets a bit difficult. So right now it is currently 6:30. I would look at that and my first thought would be that it's 7:30, but it's kind of hard to tell because of the way that it spins. So it's spinning clockwise. So after 6 o'clock is over, 6 o'clock will be past the hour and you'll be getting approaching 7. So yeah, so this is where it gets a little bit difficult to tell the time. It's also a little bit hard to find that minute hand because it sort of blends into the dial. It's hard to pick it out. I think once they add the red outline to it, it will be easier to find that. But still, overall, this is kind of a difficult watch to read the time on. But it's not really meant to be a practical, functional watch. It's meant to be something that you can tell the time on and use as a watch, but more as a conversation piece, as just something to really admire and look at. And there is a lot to look at here. I really like how that aventurine dial is kind of subtle compared to the rest of the watch, and it does provide what appears to be kind of a starry backdrop to this. You do get the sense of a planet floating in space because of that. And in this case, I have the Earth version, so this is a nice kind of blue marble look at the Earth with the clouds and everything there. And it's kind of interesting. So the planet is suspended above the dial by that bridge. You've got that metal bridge going, so the planet is not actually touching the dial. It's kind of hanging there. Which when you look at it dead on like this, it looks absolutely gorgeous. I mean, it just really sells the idea of a planet sitting in space. However, because this is really only half of a planet, it's, you know, from this angle it looks like a full ball. Which is where that visual effect really comes in. But once you start looking at it from the side, you can pretty quickly see that it is a cutout, that it's half of a planet. And from most angles, when you're looking at the watch, that's how it's going to look. So it kind of breaks the illusion a little bit. So I think they're fairly ambitious in what they're trying to pull off, and they mostly got it right, I think. But this is just such a such a tricky design to make work exactly right from all angles. The font that they used on the hours is kind of a very futuristic, sort of science fiction-y look that does fit the character of the watch. The word I keep coming back to when wanting to describe this watch is it is a quirky watch. It's a watch that is meant to be fun and whimsical, and there are little nods to that all over the place, that this watch is not meant to be taken like super seriously. So for instance, from the side, one of the things you'll notice is it does look a lot like a flying saucer. You get kind of that spaceship look. So you can see these little things that look like screws or buttons have a little star marked on them. Now this just does use standard pins, so you can use any strap in here. The strap they're using has quick release spring bars, so you can pop that in and out very easily. But despite this being a very kind of whimsical and again sort of quirky design, it's very well executed. I mean, the finishing is great. Very nice brushing and interesting accents, a very well executed case. So just from a watch manufacturing standpoint, this is not like a toy watch at all. It's a very well built, well finished watch. So it's kind of, it kind of mixes a lot of these elements where in some ways it sort of does look like a fun, almost like a kind of a toyish sort of watch. But then in other angles, when you look at it and you appreciate the details, you can see that there's a lot of stuff that's gone into here, and again that sapphire crystal being one of the standout features. Again, not something you see very commonly at all. I also really like what they've done on the case back. You know, the NH35 is a movement that everybody has seen a million times, so you know, it's not like a really fancy movement to look at. So what they've done is they've put a solar system map on the back, but then opened up the open heart, so you can see the balance wheels, you know, spinning back and forth inside the watch in the case. So you do get a little glimpse into the movement. You can tell this is an automatic watch, but then you're also getting this kind of really cool solar system map on the back of the watch as well. The crown is very easy to grip and operate. It's got very nice knurling on it with a little black piece of rubber embedded into it. So very easy to grip, very easy to use. I really like the crown on it. And it is a signed crown with their Kaal logo. And the strap I was really impressed with. This is a very nice, thick Horween strap. It is extremely supple, just really beautiful leather, and a really nice add-on. It does have quick release pins, so you can easily swap it out. 22mm lugs, so if you wanted to put on like a black NATO strap or something to give kind of like a NASA look, I think that would also match the character of the watch pretty well. But I definitely appreciate the strap that they included with this. On the wrist, the watch feels pretty comfortable. It you know, conforms to the wrist well. It does feel top heavy because obviously this is a big watch head, a very thick watch, but the strap is also very thick to match it, so I think it balances the watch well. But this is, again, it's a 20mm tall watch, counting the domed sapphire crystal. So this is something that you got to be kind of careful of. You don't want to bump it or bang it. It's nice that this is sapphire because you're unlikely to scratch it. However, if you did bang it hard enough, you could shatter it. So you'd want to be careful of that. Yeah, but just having it on the wrist and having it, you know, at these different angles and seeing that sort of bubble-like crystal going over it, catching those glimpses of the aventurine dial, the suspended globe in the middle of it. There's so many interesting visual things to look at, and it really is a fun piece to have and to wear. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the Lume on this, because this being kind of a space-themed watch, Lume plays an important role in the design and function of the watch. So what you're getting is, I believe the chapter ring, which is fairly thick and large, is loomed in BGW9, so it's going to give off a blue glow. And because that is such a large chapter ring, that's a lot of lume they're able to put on there, which casts a kind of a glow that lights up the planet in the middle of it, which is a really cool effect after dark. And then the individual hour numbers that are on that sort of dial that spins around, those are all printed in, I believe, C3 super luminovas. You're getting a green glow off of those, and the same goes for the sort of satellite second hand and that star minute hand. So after dark, you can read everything. Glows pretty well. But this being a prototype, I'm not sure if they're going to be changing up the lume formulation or strengthening it or whatever, so I'm not doing a full lume check on this. Just to my eye and from my personal using it, it doesn't seem like it is as bright as like a diver, but it is adequately bright. It definitely glows up bright enough that you can read everything, and it does give that kind of really cool science fiction look that they're really going for with this watch. Okay, let's go ahead and wrap it up and talk about what I think the main pros and cons of this watch are. On the pro side, you're getting a lot of really unique features, things that you don't really see anywhere else. I think this is going to be primarily appealing to people who have a deep interest in space and astronomy and celestial bodies and, you know, all of that kind of stuff. I keep coming back to that sapphire crystal, but that is definitely one of my favorite features on this watch. It's just such a beautiful domed bubble-like feature of it, and it just really casts the watch in a good light. Also, the overall fit and finish of the watch is great. I mean, it's a very quirky design, but they've executed it very well with a very high attention to detail, and as far as I can tell, a very good level of quality control. So while it's a very quirky piece, it is a very well-built piece. This watch is definitely going to be a conversation piece. It's the kind of thing that people will have no choice but to notice on your wrist. So if you're looking for a fun, quirky conversation starter like this, I think this is going to be a good option for a lot of people. On the negative side, obviously this is not a watch for everybody. For one, that height is going to make it a little bit obtrusive. It's not going to be a really comfortable daily wear for everywhere you go. Having basically 2 centimeters tall sticking up on your wrist is going to limit the places you're going to want to wear it, and I would be very careful wearing it in any sort of active environment, and it's not going to play well with suits and dress sleeves where you need to try and slip it underneath the cuff. The watch is also a little bit of a challenge to tell the time. I feel like that rotating hour disc is a little bit confusing, and especially if you're not used to it, it is a little bit difficult to figure out which hour is coming up or whether it's 4:15 or 5:15. But I think that's the kind of thing that you would get used to if you're wearing it a lot. There were a couple of aesthetic choices that didn't strike very well with me. For one, I'm not a huge fan of the font that they used on the face of the dial. It's got this sort of sci-fi style to it, which I think fits in with the personality of the watch, but it might come off as just a little bit cheesy. And the same can be said for the big planet in the middle of the watch. It's a very unique idea, and overall it's a very nicely painted and finished planet relief. But I don't know, there's just something about it. Like in some lights, it looks really stunning, and yeah, you get sucked in with that aventurine dial with the stars in the background and this, planet sticking out and really hovering on the dial, and it really sells that look that it's going for. But I think in other looks, it kind of just reminds me of something you might pick up at like a science museum gift shop. So I'm a little bit on the fence about the whole thing. That level of sort of quirkiness and sort of tongue-in-cheek look to some of the elements of the watch do add a lot of charm and fun if that's what you're going for. But I guess this is not really a serious watch. This is more of a fun watch. But I don't know. I'll leave it up to you guys. I'd love to hear what you guys think in the comments. So definitely let me know what you think of this watch down below. Again, I think this is one that is going to be somewhat polarizing. There's going to be some people that are going to be really drawn to this and think it's the coolest thing ever. And with others, it's probably just not really going to connect. But again, if you're interested, links down below to the Kickstarter and the pre-order page, and also get some idea of what the moon and the sun versions look like. But that will wrap it up for today. Let's go ahead and do the wrist check. Okay, so I have on my Citizen Nighthawk. It's been a while since I've worn this. This is one of my favorite watches, but I have been having so many watches in to do reviews and to testing. I haven't had a chance to wear it as much. It's been great to get it back on the wrist. Really enjoy this watch. It's just really top quality all the way around, and I do have a full review of it, actually 2 reviews of it, which I'll link down below as well, so you can check those out too. Anyways, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.